So, I got a bunch of theories, but this is understanding the conscious and unconscious mind along with the Freudian id, superego, and the conscious mind. My theory, because these guys in their psychology believe there's only the conscious and unconscious mind, and that makes sense because their conscious mind is underdeveloped because they don't go through the proper developmental cycles because they traumatize the kids early so they don't develop a superego. That's not complicated, that's common sense. So these idiots don't have a superego, so they have no values, they have no morals, they're just monkeys. My theory is Freud's id is actually the subconscious mind. And think about it, the subconscious mind is carnal, and the whole addict thing also makes sense because if you roll the brain back to its initial state, the original time you felt euphoria or good is when you ate, because eating causes joy. That is why food addiction is a thing. But addiction in general, anything that makes you feel good or stimulates your dopamine, causes you to feel good. And that is the unregulated subconscious mind. Okay? That is the id. Yes, I'm arguing the id is the subconscious mind. The other part is without the conscious mind to staple and regulate the emotions become an anomaly. They don't make any sense. So the imbecile brain, the unconscious brain, doesn't know that. It doesn't understand how it feels. It only knows to act mindlessly. Think of a cat or a dog and how it just does things without thinking. Yeah. Same thing, and that's why these people are obsessed with the subconscious mind and not thinking. They believe the intelligent mind is stupid, which is the conscious mind. The conscious mind, as it develops your superego, which is a list of morals and potentially a separate form of consciousness that helps you regulate your values. What's important to you. The ego is a recognition of yourself. So it is a conscious recognition of yourself. That is part of the conscious mind. The unconscious mind has the ego, and the unconscious mind has the ego, whereas the conscious mind has the superego. These two separate entities. One's a regulated, intelligent construct. The other's a complete monstrous baboon. And I believe that when you put these two together, you basically get into what Freud was touching on. I wanted to talk about this really stupid, and there's going to be some interpersonal shit with myself in this story. I guess you could have called me the Demented President. I don't really give a shit because, once again, I don't do drugs, and I was being drugged the entire time. I don't willingly drink heavy metals, and that was being given to me the entire time, because these people hate intelligence. They hate smart people. They can't stand them, because it makes them feel stupid, because they are stupid, because they drink lead. Don't do stupid things, and you won't end up with stupid results. So, when I was out there in the desert, I remembered these weird moments where Jasmine, or the other wives, one of them had like red hair. Some of them were really, really young. It was kind of creepy. I don't know what was up with that, but you're out there in the desert, you're the president, and they switch your conscious and unconscious minds. Yeah. So, your unconscious mind comes to the forefront. And your unconscious mind has a series of programmings that happen while it's developing. Yes, the unconscious mind has a development cycle, but it is not a good way to navigate reality. Like, the way I would describe it is the unconscious mind is a car, and the conscious mind is a navigator. Okay? You just get in a car and you go without any fucking direction, you'll get somewhere. Okay, but without navigation, you're not going to get to a specific point where you want to go. And I would argue these people have no idea what they're doing. This is why they don't have agency or accountability in anything, and everything's everybody else's fault. The unconscious mind is easily influenced. What do they call it? Intrusive thoughts? all that shit. I remember this stuff, the blue-eyed guy and another dude was telling me when you're talking to Stu or any of the church leaders, not to give them ideas because they're impulsive. They just act on them, and they can't help it because once the idea's in their head, it's your fault because you gave them the idea to begin with, and then it's your fault when they do something stupid, and it's your fault because the unconscious mind doesn't have the conscious mind to regulate it, which is the natural state of things. That is how an intelligent, fully functioning brain operates. I thought they were fucking with me, the church leaders, when they were calling me. They were in prison talking to me on butt phones, and I thought they were fucking with me when they were asking me to regulate their emotions because they didn't know what they were. They would just ask me about how they felt and then wanted me to explain to them how they felt. And I thought that was creepy and weird. And it is creepy and weird because normal people don't have their conscious and unconscious minds swapped. What I remember from having my unconscious mind swapped was I would have these moments where the drugs wore off and I wouldn't be drugged, and I'd start screaming at the wives to stop giving me fucking drugs and just let me be. I'd get pissed off because being in a drug-induced state isn't enjoyable. Reality is nothing but pain for the unconscious mind because its job is to see reality. Its job is to be like, that's a dresser, that's a floor, that's a wall. That is what it does. Its job is not to navigate reality. So it can't navigate reality because that ability just isn't there. The same way it doesn't know right from wrong. The only thing it knows is it wants to be liked. And why does it want to be liked? Primal instincts. Reproduction. If I'm liked, I can get laid. It is that simple. It is a baboon brain. There's nothing smart about what it does. Everything it does is an imitation of the conscious mind because it's not conscious. This weird moment I remember with Jasmine was her questioning me about stuff I did when they had my unconscious mind leading. Okay? And she talked about how the way I can describe this is in the Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction video game, you can grab a human and put it down and pat it on the head and then smash it. And I kept doing that to people where I was nice to them, and then they said they liked me, and then I would overreact and hurt them in some way. Which makes sense because I guess the unconscious mind only knows how to communicate through hurting people like a baby crying. So the wives couldn't explain to me why I kept doing that. Yes, I just kept hurting people after being nice to them. And there was no, like, the wives themselves couldn't explain why I kept doing that. To which they switched my conscious and unconscious minds back. And I was kind of stable and screaming I wanted to go home. And they began questioning me while keeping me high on LSD. Against my will, I didn't want to do drugs. So they asked me, why does my unconscious mind not just work the same way the former presidents worked? And I told them we're two separate people. But after a minute of talking to them, I revealed that I'm a hatred-based psychology. My core emotion is hatred. And I explained to them when you hate things, you hate yourself and you hate everyone in existence. And I was like, so if somebody made the mistake of saying they liked me, there's a possibility I would act out violently against them if you're using my unconscious mind because it knows it doesn't like itself, and when you like it, you're lying. And there was this awkward pause, and I told her, I was like, that's why I keep the other guy, the conscience mind. That's what I was talking about. The other guy in charge, because his job is to regulate that, and it's a good thing nobody has a way to remove that, or else everything would go bad for everyone. And I remember all the wives looking at me in horror when I said this. There was this revelation, like, holy shit. Like, part of the grooming process is them just inflating an ego to the point that the balloon is about to burst and then telling you that this is the ideal psychology. Okay? Having a grandiose worth of self and just kill anybody and no accountability for you. You're the victim and everything because they destroyed your brain. And they made it work in a way that they decided was superior. And it's not superior. It's inferior. Okay? It's a defective brain that wants to do drugs because it has no conscience to regulate it. If it had a conscience regulating it, it wouldn't do drugs. The reason Stu goes on about how he's dying when he can't do drugs or kill people is because his unconscious mind can't be regulated. You would have to forcefully regulate it by putting him in a cage. That is the only way his mind would know any type of regulation, because the conscious mind is designed to regulate. It is designed to regulate emotions, it is designed to regulate logic, reason, and all intelligence for that matter. That is why it is important, and that is why you shouldn't remove it from the forefront. It should be the thing driving your car. Once again, the unconscious mind driving your car, you become strictly reactionary to everything, and everything you do is an overreaction. Because you have no regulation, so you overreact to everything. And this came up talking to the blue-eyed guy, because the blue-eyed guy, rolls back to like high school, questioned me about why Stu just goes kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, every time. And I suggested to him, he has no regulation. Because when you pick a punishment to fit the crime, you pick a punishment to fit the crime. Okay? But in Stu's mind, everything is horrible, everything is awful, he has no regulation, he has no self-control, and that's everybody else's fault. He doesn't have those things. He doesn't have those things because they switched his conscious and unconscious mind. He thinks like an imbecile, and then they put him in control when he's completely out of control. He is an out-of-control person that wants to be in control. Okay? And I don't know if the base standard of the human mind is a form of master and slave like these people claim it is. Okay? This is the thing with them. They claim that other people have slave brains and the other people don't have slave brains. If you have a conscious mind, it enslaves the unconscious mind. And they're like, oh, we're freed unconscious primal baboons that drink lead and do drugs. And we want the entire world to be like this. Also, we want it for ourselves. Also, it's superior when actuality, everybody bends everything for them. It's not superior when you have to rig a court case to win. It's not superior when you have to poison the other party with heavy metals so you can win. If you have to cheat at everything, you're not superior, you're being an asshole. Okay? Their entire way of being is just misery, and I wanted to talk about this misery aspect. One of the things that occurred to me is them talking about having a sorrowful soul. What does that mean? Okay, so first they tell you reality is nothing but suffering. Okay, that creates nihilism. But a sorrowful soul, what does that mean? It means you're miserable. And why are people miserable? I would argue it's because they're doing things that are against their values. Most people do not want to murder innocent people. Most people do not want to kill and eat people's brains. Most people, normal human beings, don't commit these atrocities and then scream, this is the behavior of a superior being. Because to anybody else, it looks like the behavior of a mindless, stupid, violent savage. Why you think these behaviors are superior are beyond me. Okay, a bear can mutilate somebody. Does that make it a superior being? A shark can mutilate somebody. Does that make it a superior being? An alligator can mutilate somebody. Does that make it a superior being? This is an animalistic instinct, and that makes sense for the subconscious mind, especially if it came before the conscious mind. Okay. When I was telling the wives out there I don't do drugs because it creates an unregulated body, there was this bizarre, weird behavior that leaked from them. And the other side with the unconscious mind is apathy. You're apathetic to everyone, and it is your natural state to be detached from everyone because your unconscious mind doesn't have the conscious links to connect with anyone. Okay? It wants to. It desperately wants to. And I would argue that the unconscious mind created the conscious mind specifically so it could connect with other people, because it itself doesn't have those abilities, it doesn't have those skills. These are two separate functioning parts of your brain. And once again, this would be like taking a car and putting the transmission in the front and the engine in the back. The transmission is strictly reactionary to what the engine does. Okay? The unconscious mind works in the same volumes. Now, the unconscious mind's job is to just see reality. That's why you can hypnotize people into seeing things that don't exist. You can hypnotize them into having visions. You can hypnotize them into having all these things through the unconscious mind, because the unconscious mind doesn't have the wherewithal to know the difference. Okay? Its natural state is just computing. That's it. And survival. Extreme selfishness. I believe the unconscious mind is extremely selfish. It only knows, it's only self-aware, it only knows of itself, so it only cares about itself. It does not have the ability to actually functionally love or care for somebody other than itself. It only cares about itself. That is why when Blondie's like, I want a woman, I'd better threaten her, get her under contract, and force her to marry me, and then she'll get Stockholm Syndrome and we'll be together. Okay? And these people hate Stockholm Syndrome. They don't believe in it because it implies they're assholes. And what does that do? I'm a bad person. Look, I said it before, and Stu had a serious issue with this. Everything you do is reflective of who you are. Okay? I don't do drugs, so I never would have did those things if I wasn't forced to do drugs. These people do all the bad things and then scream somehow they're the victims in it because they have no self-regulation. But why do you not have self-regulation? It's because you got rid of the unconscious mind. Or the conscious mind. You got rid of the conscious mind and then go, we got rid of the regulations and now we're erratic, weird, we have no self-control, we have no self-discipline, and everything is everybody else's fault because we don't have those. And when you tell them to learn self-discipline, they can't. One of the stupider conversations I remember being around back with Trefalatree and his dumbass brother Blondie. And basically they were asking about self-discipline because it was alien to them. And when you tell them they can't do something, they have to prove you wrong because they're insecure from being raped in the ass. And they started explaining to me they do all this work to get people to like them. They have to prove it, prove it, prove it. And I was like, you're talking about self-discipline. I was like, when you have the urge to do something, let's say you want to have sex with a woman and she doesn't want to have sex with you. That's called rape when you force sex onto them. You are raping that woman. Now they go, you change the, because it's the unconscious mind, they go, you change the wording and it changes the act. No, it doesn't change the act. There is no such thing as unenforced sex or forced sex. Okay, it's called rape. And we had a back and forth. And then Blondie was like, that's the job of a woman. That's the job of a woman. I don't care. I don't care. It's the job. And are you a baboon? No, we don't believe in evolutionary theory, but we found the baboon brain. And we operate in the baboon brain. And you literally, as these people are explaining this to me, I start getting more and more pissed off because I have a partially conscious mind. I'm not cognizant from the heavy metal poisoning. And remember my theory, heavy metals destroy the halo brain. They destroy your cognition. They destroy your conscious mind. They destroy it, and then you behave in a non-cognizant fashion. You're an imbecile, and you're easy to be influenced by other retards. That is what they did to me. And then even when I was president, they took away my cognitive brain, like cognizance. They took that away. And then we're like, you just gotta be the dumbest motherfucker and in control. Also, you know, the unconscious mind has all these things. Part of the grooming method is the method that develops these people in the way that they develop. And they are not superior, they're defective. Okay? There is no true superior psychology. Spoilers. Okay? Everybody's psychology is functional in different ways. That's why the FBI has 3 different classes of agents they'll hire. Okay? Because they're 3 different classes, but they're all uniquely skilled in their specific way. Okay? Nobody has the singular superior psychology. It's not a fucking thing. Alright? Yeah. The idea, I would argue that accountability and agency is so terrifying to the unconscious mind that when they stumble upon people that are emotionally stunted, letting somebody else be in control just comes natural. Because one, they're a baby brain. And when you're a baby, everybody else has to be in control. But then these people simultaneously want to be unconscious. They want to be a baby, but they want to be in control. But they want to be a baby. And that chaoticness and the chaos they have inside them, the chaos engine where their carnal instincts fight with what's left of their values from the conscious mind that was supposed to be leading, and their brains are neurotic and weird, and what do they learn to do? Virtue signal, lie, pretend and imitate human behavior. One of the things I learned recently is narcissists have what's called cognizant emotional evaluation, meaning they can recognize your facial expression, but they don't feel the emotion, okay? And they don't care about your emotion because everything is backwards in their head. And I would argue that they didn't just switch the conscious and unconscious mind. The conscious mind is still working. It is just working in the back. That is why everything they do is chaotic, and it goes in both ways, and it doesn't make sense as to what they're doing. It is an alien, unnatural state, and that is where Blondie's like, oh no, in that chaos, there's good. Okay, but let's discuss that. You take milk, you mix chocolate syrup with it. Okay, we'll say the chocolate syrup is bad, and the milk is good, and then you mix it. What happens? It becomes chocolate milk. There you go. That's common sense. You can't mix good and evil and then go, in that chaos is something glorious. In that chaos, there is nothing but chaos. That's what that is. Okay? And the weird thing that, there's a quote, people believe chaos and control are somehow separate. They're not. They're the same. Okay? The only difference with your system is you just kill everybody. And then you don't like it, you kill it. It says things you don't like, you kill it. Kill it, kill it, kill it. It is a 2-year-old response to everything, because everything is an overreaction. I hope you guys found this one educational.